everybody, I'm Natalie with Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I'm here today with Misty.
Hi guys.
It's Double Take Day and National Quilting Month, and we
That's
have we have fun things to talk about today.
We do. We absolutely do. We have a brand new line. It's called Welcome to Quilt Town, and we get to use it today for our Double Take, and
it's so fun.
It's so cute. We've done a few of these now that are kind of
I feel
Missouri
like they
Star
get better
signature.
every time.
I agree. This one is so cute, and it even has this little panel.
It's so fun. It shows a lot of our shops, but it also has cute little things in it, like Chuck on a little Vespa.
Yes, exactly. And you know,
so
a little
fun.
truck and the hot air balloons. I just think it's so cute. And
It's
if you've been to town, it's a great way to kind of remember your visits. Or it's just like this is an adorable baby play
It's a
mat
panel with a border on it, stitched up and ready to go. It's super cute.
Exactly. And but the rest of the line we have used in our quilts, and our block for this month is the Churn Dash.
Yeah.
So
and I think I get to go first this time, so
Perfect.
I'm excited.
All right.
Let's get started. Well, I guess I'm gonna go first.
All right. I love your quilt, Natalie.
Oh,
it's so
thank
cute.
you. Thank you. I had a lot of fun making it, and I like how the 4 patches crisscross through it.
Yes, it's really cute.
It's great. All right, so to make my quilt, you're gonna need 1 package of 10-inch print squares, and I've used Welcome to Quilt Town by Missouri Star Quilt Company. It's our fun new version of our line. You're gonna need a little bit of accent fabric, about 7/8 of a yard, 3 1/4 yards of background, 1 1/3 yards of border, and then binding is 2/3 of a yard, and our backing is 5 yards if you're using 45, but we have this beautiful 108, so you'll only need 2 1/4 yards of 108, and it's gorgeous.
Perfect.
I love this.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It's so fun. All right, so you'll need a squaring tool. You can use Clearly Perfect or Block Lock. I'm doing some half square triangles, so whichever one you like to use.
Perfect.
Let's get started. Okay, so my quilt is put together with 2 different blocks. They're both pretty simple to make. You'll need to start out by cutting your background fabric. You'll need some 10-inch squares, some 4 1/2-inch squares. I need to subcut this strip still. You'll need some 2 1/2-inch strips from your accent fabric, and that makes all of your 4 patches in the quilt. They're consistent, which I think gives it a real look of like...
I love that. It really makes it pop.
Yeah, I think it's great. I love it. So 2 1/2-inch strips, 4 1/2-inch squares, and 10-inch squares. And that will put together the quilt. So I'm going to finish cutting these guys so we have a few. And then we'll work on our Churn Dash block first.
Perfect.
So we've got a little bit of cutting prep, and then everything will come together nice and easy. So to start the Churn Dash, we're going to make some half square triangles, and you're going to make 8. So you have enough to do 2 blocks with those, so you'll set them aside. You only need 4 per block. And I'm going to go ahead and draw the line, and we'll sew. Oh,
I was going to try and find you a pencil, yeah.
Excellent.
There you go.
We'll sew on both sides of both lines.
All right, I'm ready.
Excellent. I love
Do it.
The reason I'm drawing on the print fabric is because this fabric is it's very subtle.
It is.
And I just didn't want to draw them all on the wrong side.
Yep. Double check that tone on tone. It can be tricky.
So you're doing right sides together and stitching on both sides.
Perfect.
There you go. I find that if I set it on something else, I can see where the print shows up really well, and then on the back side it doesn't show up as well. So, but I will say, even if you get it all mixed up, it won't matter.
It's true.
Excellent.
There we go.
All right. So typically I cut the sections horizontally and vertically that don't have their they don't have their lines drawn. That's the hack from Mom, which I will always remember. All right, and then comes our squaring right Whoops, I don't know why that didn't want to go. So I'm going to put most of these away. And I think I'll use the Clearly Perfect this time.
Okay, great.
Get these trimmed and then we'll press them.
And our corners will be all ready.
That's right. I do love that it's less cuts.
Yeah, it's so true. Well, and squaring is just so satisfying.
It really is.
Here, I'll come around and press while you're...
Oh, thank you.
Just to save us some time.
Good idea. Yeah, I love that squaring makes everything look so neat and tidy.
Exactly.
And it all fits together so well.
Right, and it makes the whole process so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, definitely.
Instead of having to fight with all those little seams that don't want to line up. It's one of those things where taking the time at the beginning pays off in the end.
All right, last one.
There we go.
Okay, so we've got our 4 half square triangles made. So the next thing we're going to make are these little, the bar blocks.
Okay.
So we're going to take our print and our background. We're just going to stack those up and cut them into 2.5-inch segments and stitch those together.
Just down one long side?
Yep.
Okay.
If you just do 2 of them. This also gives you enough to do 2 blocks. So if you want more variety, you can use more prints. You'll notice I didn't use any of the light prints in here. If you had a different background, you could switch it up. Because I have accent fabric added, I was able to get quite a bit of a quilt without using all of the print layer cake.
Yeah.
I have quite a bit left over.
That's great.
So, all right, so I'm going to cut these now into 4.5-inch segments, and we will be all set on our bar blocks. We'll press them, and then we'll put that block together. It's so quick.
Yeah, so quick and easy. I love the Churn Dash block.
I do too. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, just a great classic.
It was the one that I have always requested when we had the when we first opened the shop. We had our Friday night sew. That was the one that I requested when we did the little block, the block lottery,
exchange,
and everybody made blocks for each other. Yeah, that was so fun.
That's awesome.
I still have it. I still love it. All right, press these back or open or however you say it. And again, I was cutting those into 4.5-inch segments. Everything in this block, it's a 12.5-inch unfinished block, and all of the pieces are 4.5 unfinished.
That's great.
So it goes together really well with all of our measurements and math. Alrighty. So our print goes to the middle in our 4 corners. And then our bar blocks also go to the middle. And we've got this one square here, 4.5-inch background square.
Adorable.
And just like that, you've got a little churn dash that looks like this.
So cute. I love it.
All right. So we probably don't need to stitch this together because you got the idea,
Yeah,
right? We chain piece it and sew it up.
Like a 9 patch.
That's right, right. Okay, so now we're going to take our long 2.5-inch strips of our background and our accent.
Okay.
We're going to sew those together right sides and cut them into 1,000 little pieces.
Perfect. I do have to say, I love that you have to double check on the white on white background as well, because it was a little difficult.
It is. It's tricky to see. So a good lighting,
Yeah.
and then always just I set it on my sewing machine, or even my jeans would work if I couldn't really
Just
tell. I
to
would
help,
use something
yeah.
something to show me which side was which.
That's great. Just always making sure my strips are lined up here.
Yeah.
Zooming down.
Yep.
There we go.
quite a bit. You only need a little less than a yard of this accent fabric to do the whole quilt.
Oh, that's awesome. There we go.
All right, and I will typically fold them in half because as long as I'm lining up my seams and everything is pretty much straight, I think I can cut through. But if you don't feel comfortable, don't do it.
Yeah, leave it
I'm
open.
just not too worried about it.
It's a great little tip to save some time.
Yeah. I like to line stuff up. The other thing is because I did all of this at once, I lined up several of these strips in a row and then cut the 2.5-inch squares while they were still folded, but I would cut, 2 or 3 of them and get all those cuts at once. So let's just do one because I've got all my other little 4 patches made, but once these are cut down, it's very simple little stitch them up,
Yeah. Nest those seams.
Mm-hmm. Nest them and
Okay, great.
we'll get that done.
And make sure these are going the way I want.
Yes, nesting matters.
There we go.
Excellent. All right, so these are fun. This block has all of the, they always run, all of the color runs diagonally from your top right down to your bottom left. So you'll see that here reflected. And then these two both face the opposite direction. So as long as you have your blocks lined up like that, your quilt will look perfect.
Yeah.
It looks just like that. It lines up. So when I was putting this together, I always look for like little hacks, like can I just make a bunch where I stitch all of these together? And you can, but this one is different, and these two you can make identically and then just turn them in.
Okay.
So you can do that. But I found that it was easier for me just to lay out the block and stack them.
Yeah.
That just works so well. So
Whatever we can do to keep it straight in our brain so we don't get mixed up.
The organization, it matters, and it makes life so easy when you're just sewing along. Anything I can do to make it pleasant and quick. And that is it. Oops. These ones point to the middle, and these ones go that way.
I love it.
And then again, you're sewing it together just like a little 9 patch. You make, I think it's 15 of each block.
So cute.
Yeah, and they go into the quilt, so you'll see we just alternate. We've got the churn dash and the 4-patch block, or the chain block. I'm not sure. It's just probably unit A or unit B in
the pattern.
In the pattern, but yeah. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Adorable.
And that's it. I added a 5-inch outer border, and it ends up being 69 by 81.
It's a great size.
Yeah, I quilted it in Abacus. This is one of our newer patterns, and I just think it's so cool. I think
love
it's
this one.
It's modern, and it has the lines, but it's also soft because they curve instead of being like real blocky.
Exactly.
And then I want to show you this beautiful backing. It's so pretty, very fun.
Awesome.
All right, so I think it's your turn. I can't wait to see what you came up with.
All right, let's go. All right, so this is my quilt.
Oh, it's so cute.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun. I called it Star Dash because we have the stars and the churn dashes kind of inverted on each other in our 2 blocks. And
I love it.
It's a lot of fun. So to make my quilt, you are going to need 1 package of print squares. And of course, I also used our new Welcome to Quilt Town line. It's so cute. You're also going to need 1 package of 10-inch background squares. I used that same tone on tone that Natalie used.
Right.
You'll also need an additional 1 yard of your background fabric. For your border, you're going to need 2/3 of a yard. And for your backing, you need 5 1/8 yards if you have 45, but I also used 108.
We have some great backings for this line.
Yeah, they're really cute. This
beautiful.
Nice large floral, and so you just need 2 1/8 yard of that. You also need your preferred squaring tool, either Block Lock or Clearly Perfect. So let me show you how to make it. right, so like Natalie's, my quilt also has 2 blocks. So here is the first one. It's our little churn dash inside of a star.
I love it.
And then the second is the reverse of that, a star
in
inside of a churn dash.
I love that. That's so cute.
So we are going to make the star first.
Okay.
And so just like you made the outside corners of your churn dash, I did the 8 at a time method to do the star legs. And so
It's so convenient.
very convenient. So we just draw the line, sew on both sides, and square to 4.5. So I have that done already.
Nice.
So those are ready to go.
We walked through it just a few minutes ago.
Exactly. And so then you will also need some 4.5-inch squares for those outside corners, but let me show you how to make the churn dash in the middle. So to do that, you are going to need
A little cutting chart.
yes, I did give myself a little guide so I could remember how I managed this. So I paired up a print and a background 10-inch square, and our first cut is 4.5 inches. And we're going to subcut these into 4.5-inch squares. Oops, there we go. Almost cut it 3.5. I would have been sad.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Can't put it back together once it's cut.
All right, and then we are going to stitch on all 4 sides of one of those if you want to do that.
I will.
And then the next strip we're going to cut is 3 inches. And we are going to subcut this into 3 by 4.5-inch rectangles. There's 1 and 2. And then this little bit of our print is waste, or you can put it in your stash. You just don't need that. And then we are going to subcut our background. This leaves a 2.5-inch strip, and we're going to cut this down into 2.5-inch squares. And we will use these later. There we go.
All right. Sometimes I hit that button a little
I
too
know,
soon.
we're
and
just
it's
not
like, wait
patient enough.
for me.
And so then now you can either cut this corner to corner and square your half square triangles to 2.5. But if I have my Clearly Perfect, I just put it right on the line and just cut them out of my square just like this. So we need 2.5 inch.
And so you have room in the middle for things to overlap.
Exactly.
That's
you don't
great.
have to worry about it.
That's
So
great
it gives
because
you
saves you cuts.
exactly. So there's 1. You're just lining that up on the stitch line, and we'll make our way all the way around this little square. Again, lining our 2.5 line up right there, and you see we have plenty in the middle that we don't have to worry about not having enough room, and it just saves us a little bit of time.
I love those hacks.
Well, and all those little seconds really add up when you're making a quilt,
Extra
you know?
cuts too, yeah.
Yes.
If you don't have to cut the same fabric twice,
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
saves your shoulder.
And just 1 more here.
Do you want me to press these?
Sure, that'd be great. And so you get enough because you have 2 of those little 4.5-inch squares that we sew around. You get
So
enough
this is
for
for
2 middles.
Nice.
Yep. And so then we can press those. And then we can make our little bar blocks next.
Cool, cool.
Perfect.
Got 1 more. There we go. These are ready.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so then remember we cut those 3 by 4.5-inch rectangles.
Okay.
We are going to sew on both of the long ends of these, and then we'll cut them in half when we're done, and that's how we'll get our little bars.
Slick. So it doesn't feel like you're sewing teeny tiny little strips.
Exactly.
I like that.
Just a fun little hack.
Nice. And I'm just going to feed this one in behind it.
It's a great opportunity to chain piece for sure.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so then let me cut these apart here. There we go. And since these are 3 inches wide, I need to find the middle, which means if I line up 1.5 inches on my edge, I can just cut this in half. And here is our little bar unit. We get 2 at a time, but we didn't have to piece those little strips. So
I love it.
a fun little way to save some tedious sewing. There we go.
I love all the hacks.
Yeah, it's fun. And then now we get to put our block together.
There you go.
Thank you. All right, so to begin with, we are going to use one of those 4.5-inch background for our middle, and then we'll put our little bars in with our print going towards that, just like so.
I mean, this is just a cute little churn dash block on its own.
It's true, absolutely.
It's tiny and fun, and I love that you've got all the matching print.
Yeah.
And
well,
then you have the
that's
option of like mixing them up. It looks so cute both ways.
The cutting gives it so that they can match, and in the quilt behind me, the small ones all match. But in this one, it's like, why not try to see how it looks scrapped up? And it's really cute. So don't be afraid to, mix and match. And
Should we sew it together?
Yeah, let's sew that together, and then we'll add our star legs to the outside.
All right.
I love this little way that Natalie's sewing it because the threads will kind of hold it together almost as pins when we open this up.
It's great.
Add our next little half square triangle.
It helps me keep things together a lot. I do this frequently.
Yeah.
As often as I can.
Right, when it works, it's really convenient. And our last little half square triangle. Perfect. Do you want me to press it, or do you like to just go ahead and sew?
I like to stitch this together and then
press at the end. Perfect.
Because that way I can nest my seams exactly how I want them.
Yep. While
sewing.
That's how I do it too. But if you like to press, of course you could press in between. We're just living on the edge,
I just like for my seams to go a certain way. I like the middle to go in.
Yes.
And then the outside edges to go out. So this gives me the opportunity to make sure that I get that done, because sometimes when I'm pressing, I don't realize which directions things are going to end up.
It's true.
It can be kind of tricky for me.
And so then at the machine, you just make them go the way you want them to.
That's right. And often I'll stitch with my my seams on top so I can see, and then force the back ones whichever way they need to be going.
Yes, make them behave.
That's right. There you have it.
All right, now I can press this.
And hopefully it all worked out.
It looks great. I
always get a little nervous when I have to sew on camera, because it's like, now we'll really see.
Well, and if anything's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong while you're filming. That's what I've learned after all these years.
True. Yes.
And it's okay, because I think it's a good reminder that for all of us, when we're working on these, things just happen.
That's right. You do the best you can.
Yep. Make sure this lays nice and flat. There is our cute little churn dash for the middle.
I love it.
And now we can come back with those half square triangles that we made at the beginning for our star legs. And so these are just going to surround it, just like so.
They're so cute.
I really like it. And then we finish it off with our 4.5-inch squares in the corners. Trying to make sure I have it the right way. There we go.
That looks so great.
And that's it. And you just sew it together, and here is our first block, all complete.
I love that.
So let me show you block 2. All right, so this is block 2, just the reverse of the first block that we made. And so let me show you how to make this one. So up first, we are going to pair our print and background. And I went ahead and drew some lines, so hopefully this would be nice and clear to you. So first up, we're gonna cut this in half and cut 2 5-inch squares.
Okay.
And so let's do that. And then these are gonna give us our churn dash, our 4 churn dashes for our corners. We're just gonna draw on either side of these drawn, or sew on either.
Stitch on both sides.
Yes, of the drawn line.
Okay.
And then for this, we're gonna cut these into 4.5-inch squares.
Mm-hmm.
And these are gonna make our little star legs for the middle.
Okay.
And I did mix these up so that I had variety between the, from block to block.
Yeah, so
But
you made your half square triangles large and set those
Exactly.
aside, and then you have your little ones.
But you get this way where we're getting everything. So these are for your little star legs, and these are for the churn dash corners.
Okay,
And
and then
so-
on these, am I stitching around the outside edge like we did
Yes,
before?
like we did before, but I have those because I wanted to do a different print. I have that done already. So the only ones I
Okay.
need you to sew are these right here.
Excellent.
So
just
just-
wanted to clarify
Yeah.
the differences in
Yep,
the
exactly.
stitching.
Yep, so for these little guys, like Natalie said, we'll sew on all 4 sides, but I just used a different print
I
so
love
we would
that.
have a scrappy block. So, basically the same technique as when we do the Easy 8, but we're just using 2 5-inch squares because we need fewer for the churn dash block.
Right. That one got upside down on me.
Beautiful.
There you go.
Right, so we'll cut these apart and cut on that line that I drew.
Need them pressed? Are you going to block
Well,
them?
I thought maybe we would. That way if people have one or the other, we can show how to do both squaring. So if you want to
Excellent.
press those,
I will.
then we're squaring these to 4.5 again, but I'll show you how to do that with the block lock.
I do love the block lock.
I
It's
do
my
too.
favorite squaring tool.
And so then if you've never used this before, if you press your seams to the dark side, then the block lock writing is going to go on your background. And that there's a ridge in this ruler that just kind of locks on that seam. And I am just going to trim.
It's just so precise, and it
It's
stays
so precise.
stays in place for cutting.
And this particular one is exactly 4.5, which makes it even easier.
It's so easy. Yeah, they have several sizes.
Yep. So we're just going to trim this up. Sometimes you can avoid trimming multiple sides if it's, pretty straight.
Straight on one side. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like to do that too.
All right. A couple more here. And I do like to get rid of that little
Yep.
notch that's left over.
Yep, reduces bulk in your
Yep.
seam.
Whoops.
And
Almost.
squared blocks, they're so pretty.
They are. I know a lot of people don't enjoy squaring, but I find it very satisfying. And like I said earlier, it just is always worth it to me in the end.
Yes,
There we go. All right.
100%.
There are our 4 little corners squared to 4.5. And so now all that we have left for this block is to make our bar block units.
Okay.
And so on that, I have again paired up a print and a background. And I just used my ruler here and I drew a line down the middle. And so we are going to sew a 1/4-inch seam on both edges and on both sides of that center line.
Okay, I could have done mine this way too.
Yes.
Awesome.
Save a little time.
Yeah. We both just think of different hacks and construction methods.
And that's what's so fun about getting to film this together is because we both, I think, always learn something and have different ideas.
Yes.
It inspires us.
100%.
It's really fun.
more seam.
One more on that last side.
Yep. There you go.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
So once she
That's
has,
pretty easy.
it's pretty great, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so then now we're just going to cut this in half. So right on that first line that we drew. And then we can just use our ruler and measure in 2.5, because we can cut these in half. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn these because they only need to be 8.5 long. So I
okay.
I'm just going to do one at a time.
You could cut them before and
You
then.
could, and then cut them in half.
Yeah.
Whatever way is easier for you.
Oh, that's
I like
great.
to turn my ruler so I know I'm at 8.5. And so then let's do it first this time.
Either way works, right?
Yes. So we'll trim that off and now turn with our 2.5-inch measurement. There we go. So let's go ahead and give these a press. I like to just set that seam and roll it back. And I have a few of these already ready to go and pressed.
Makes them nice
Yeah,
and flat.
nice and flat. And so now let's go back to, remember I said those 4.5-inch squares that we cut, I was gonna mix up so that it was scrappy.
Yes.
And we were gonna sew on all 4 sides just like we did in our previous block. So I have that done here. You're gonna do that to 2 squares, but I just already did one. And so we're just gonna cut these just like before.
There you go.
Trimming them to 2.5. There we go. And now if
I'll
you want to
press them.
press, that would be awesome.
Of course.
Thank you.
I like this fabric with the tiny little pins
I
on it
know,
and scissors.
it's so cute.
There's so
this
much
one.
that's interesting about this fabric.
Yeah,
Even the floral prints have little sewing notions.
yeah,
and-
kind of like little surprises hidden in
yeah,
there.
little Easter eggs.
I love that. Jackie from our design team did
Yeah.
such a great job on this collection.
She's so creative and
super
smart.
talented. Yeah.
Yes, very talented.
There we go. All right, there's our last little one that we need to square.
Alrighty.
And you'll do that to both of your 4.5-inch squares. And then, so you'll end up with 8 of these little half square triangles. And then we're gonna go ahead and sew them together
Put our little star legs
into little
together.
star legs.
Okay.
So I'll let you do both of those.
Cool.
And then it's almost time to assemble.
Getting close now.
Getting so close.
I do love to make little blocks.
I do too. I can't help myself sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, so I will just press these back. Okay. There we go. All right. Now, if you remember, we had an extra 4.5-inch square from our cutting in our first block. That's actually the middle
Cool.
of our star.
Perfect.
And then we also cut our background square. So we had 4 more 2.5-inch squares in that first block. That comes over and we use that here. And so
Awesome.
that's where that
so
comes
everything gets used up. There's
It-
hardly any waste.
Exactly. And so
Did you
then-
use every piece in your layer cake?
So I tried not to use the lights.
You
on-
do have
in-
some.
I
can
have
see,
some.
Like this one here.
Yeah.
It's a little bit hard to see those star legs.
Exactly. They kind of get lost. So I tried really hard to use the prints where they would shine, you know. But I
Yeah.
do think you need
Almost all of
almost
it.
all of it, yeah. And so then these
So
are
really
gonna come
efficient
in.
use of the layer cake.
Yeah, it definitely is. So there's our little star. And then these guys are gonna go in the corners.
All right. Do you want me to go ahead and stitch this
I
up?
think they get the idea. It's pretty
Okay.
similar to the churn
You're
dash.
right, you're
so let's
right.
just finish laying it out.
Okay.
And so then once that's sewn together, then you're gonna add, of course, your bar units to the outside,
Love that.
just like so. And finish it off with our churn dash corners.
I love those.
So fun. Whoops, those two are stuck together. There we go. And just making sure our prints go into the middle. And then we have our cute little block all finished.
It's so cute. I love this
Thank you.
quilt.
Thank you. I love how it turned out. And it finishes, let me check the size here, 68 by 84. So it's a really nice size. And I just alternated between those two blocks. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 across by 5 down. And I just did a tiny little 2.5-inch border.
I love that.
I just wanted something to frame it.
It is, yeah. It's a sweet little frame.
Yeah, and I didn't think it needed a bunch of extra size. It was a great size already. And so here is that backing. Again, I use this beautiful floral. I just love it. And like Natalie said, there's lots of little, like, you know,
Sewing surprises.
hidden things in there that are really fun. I quilted it with our MSQC chick panto, which is really, really fun. Hopefully
so
you guys
cute.
can see our little chuck hidden in there.
Yeah.
But I just think this quilt turned out super fun, and I loved
Me
yours as
too.
well.
This was a fun double take. I
def-
enjoyed it.
It definitely was.
Well, I had a lot of fun using this fabric. I think it's great.
It turned
and
out
I
so
love
cute.
the churn dash block.
I do too. It's one of my absolute favorites, and I hope you guys really enjoyed these two great ideas for National Quilt Month. And so we will see you next time on our double take.
Bye.